This is Kevin Pruitt with Rising Tide Startups, and my guest today is Kayla Philo. Kayla, thank you for joining us on Rising Tide.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super honored to be on your show.
Well, it's an honor for us to have you here. And so tell our listeners a little bit about Kayla Philo.
Well, Kayla is a video coach for high performance female entrepreneurs. And I also am the founder of a course called Mirror Your Brilliance on Video that basically can help anybody get going on video without a lot of fuss and create quality videos, either streaming like this or with their computer or with their smartphone. Um, to start to leverage kind of what's happening online right now with video and the power of
Sure.
video for the brand.
So you have to dig a little deeper than that. So take us a little further back. Let's say, how in the world did you end up where you are today?
uh, well, I started out, I'm an internet grandma. I started out doing websites back in the 90s when my kids were little, because I wanted something that I could do while, around their schedule, basically, and my husband at that time, his schedule. And and I'm kind of very right and left brain. I'm very visual and creative, but also kind of techie and geeky. And so doing internet and websites was a great thing. And then also my degree is in marketing. So I came to web development and video from marketing. And that's a distinction that is pretty important to my clients usually. So after then when we could start to do video online, I got on it right away because the first time I popped open an editor, I started editing in video, and that's how my brain thinks. And so I cut my teeth on this work in a really fun way. There was a startup in San Francisco at the time who was hiring local videographers to do short marketing videos for clients of Yellow Pages or at that time City Search, if anybody remembers that.
Yeah, I do.
And yeah. And so I would get a call from my producer at the time, and they'd say, go to, this dentist, or go to this auto shop, or go to this, beauty salon at this time. And you have an hour to get their video, interview the owner and get a video, and then edit it and send it to us. And that's how I got started doing this work. And I loved it because I really liked the challenge of shooting on location, and also knowing how to craft a marketing video from a 20-minute interview, and then get the images that go with it. So that's how I
You
came to
are a rare individual if you are both right and left brained. I
That's what
mean,
somebody else has told
that
me.
is
Yeah.
that is very rare that someone has giftings in both of those areas. I mean, and you're not neutral. You're strong probably on both sides. So you're a
Getting at the
one
same
person show.
time. Well, I am, but sometimes when the right brain was dominating, the left brain's like, wah, and then there's a fight, and so I have to go do this over here for a while.
That's exactly right. I think that's when people get in this like analysis paralysis thing that they can't, they're like almost immobile. It's what is the immovable logic meets an irresistible force or something like that. So
Have you been sitting in my brain? Yes, exactly. That's
I
what.
understand.
Yeah.
Well,
A quick way to wrap all that up. Go ahead. I was going to bring it to
no,
present day.
no, please.
Yeah. So about 4 years ago, I had a midlife somersault in my life, and I decided to leave the nest really, really empty. And I sold or donated everything that would have fit into my car, and I took off to travel. But I also wanted to start a location independent business that
Uh-huh.
was helping my current niche, which is female entrepreneurs. Now, again, my stuff works for anybody, but women have their own special baggage about being on camera. So that is the kind of my sweet spot right now. But that's what I started doing, was creating this online business that I could help anybody in the world, and my impact would be a lot bigger.
That story that you just kind of spun there, it sounded a little familiar, like what the Eat, Pray, Love, or whatever that story is. So
And I know I should have done that first and written a book.
that's right. Somewhere through a Hindu temple in the middle of India, you figured things out. So
Well, it's funny because I have my own Eat, Pray, Love story also, but it was at a black box theater in Northern California where I met my current guapo Mexican partner. So there's we can talk about that later.
well, so let's say you and I are stepping on an elevator, and I have a business. Tell me exactly in the next 30 seconds, as we're going up 10 floors. Tell me exactly how you could provide an assistance to whatever my business is.
Well, I can help you set up a mini studio in your home or office where you can start to create quality videos today with a very minimum of expense, and also based on your short-term, quarterly goals even. We can talk about what kinds of videos that looks like, because video is the most consumed format online right now, and it's
Sure.
also the most engaging. And at that time, I would need another elevator level to tell you why it's the most engaging, but a lot of people are already getting that message anyway.
Okay, well, I'm so interested that I hit the button to close the door, so we're going back down now. So tell me, you have 30 more seconds.
Okay, well, we should just go to coffee, but okay.
There you go.
Yeah. So the reasons, there's two business reasons why you should, and I am shooting everybody, you should be doing video. I cannot think of any business model that doesn't need video if you're trying to attract and engage and convert an online audience. Okay, so there's two reasons. Number one is external. It's the industry landscape. So Google owns YouTube, and Facebook wants to become the TV of the internet. And we're all seeing that happening as Facebook starts to push and push and push on video. So right now, at this moment in time, you're getting a little tiny bit of extra reach on Facebook because they're not giving you any extra reach for free with anything else.
Right.
So you get a little bit of tiny extra reach with your video, and you also, your page will start to convert better. You'll save money on your ads as well. I don't have time to get into that, but if you do little video ads on Facebook, you save money. Google will favor a website that has relevant video on the homepage 99% of the time over a website that same exact or type of business, but no video, they don't get as high in the search rankings. And that's because Google owns YouTube and they want to drive traffic. So why is that though? Why do these big brands care? Well, their revenue is ad model. I'm oversimplifying quite a bit, but then why does video work? Well, that goes to the human side of things. And
Right.
it's because we are, I mean, it's the reason why you're doing some video on YouTube is my guess. The human brain is attracted to sound and motion. And then when you add a human face to that, we're like, we're mesmerized. We want to know more about that. And you think of a little baby and how they're like, they're looking at you, they're looking at your eyes, and they're looking at the expression on your face, and they're trying to figure out, do you know what they're trying to figure out?
Oh, you can't test the host like that in the middle. You make the host freeze.
Okay, that's okay. They're trying to figure out if they can trust you. Now,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so because we all have this embedded sort of genetic material, I don't really know what the words are, but genetic memory that, we like smiles, and babies are attracted to smiles, and we like contrast, and so they look at your eyes, and they're learning that they can trust you. So when somebody sees a video of you online, this is why websites with video or pages with video people spend average of 2.5 more times on a page with video than they do on one that doesn't. That's just a statistic. Also, brands that have video, viewers and consumers report a higher level of trust earlier with them.
Sure.
And it all goes back to trust. And I'm sure a lot of your familiars who are working on startups, trying to get those first few customers, you realize how important that know, like, and trust factor is.
Exactly.
And so you can shortcut, like video is your ultimate sales assistant. You can shortcut the time between, you can write a ton of blogs, and there's nothing wrong with blogs. I have a blog, but the odds of somebody spending the same amount of time on a blog post as they will with your video and getting the same connection with you are very, very low. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I would agree wholeheartedly about the value of video and about the attractiveness in the marketing space of video. But I also know that people have an inordinate fear of being on video, especially Facebook Live. At least with the video, recorded video, you can edit things out. You can, cut and paste, whatever, tape them together with the old cassette, splicing things together, But how do you help people over that? I mean, I know that's kind of part of your repertoire as well. How do you help them over that initial fear of just stepping out there?
Well, there are a couple different reasons why we're afraid, why I've seen. So number one is the tech. And I think we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But so that's one piece. So if you separate out okay, so I'm nervous about doing video. All right, step one. You can't do video until you have some sort of setup. And most of us, want to look okay on our videos. So get your setup first, get that set up. Then, that's done. And then you can work on, okay, my camera anxiety or how I feel. And I have a lot of tips around that too. But the other piece of that that's really helpful is to treat it as a system. You know, I feel the way about my bookkeeping and accounting like you guys do about video. I don't like it. I'm scared of it.
Sure.
I'm not scared of it, but to me, it's like something from Mars, and I have a business degree. It just doesn't,
Yeah.
not the way that I think. So, but what do I do about that? I mean, it's important to my business, right? Like really important. I have to pay attention to it. And so I have figured out a system to do that. And that is one thing that differentiates my method and my approach is that I was a video producer, marketing video producer for 15 years for small businesses and nonprofits. And so I know that this process benefits from a system. And so once you have your setup kind of in place, and then you kind of step A, B, and C, that takes a lot of the uncertainty, anxiety away. And then you can start to work on the deeper issue of, oh, I don't like how I look, or what am I going to say? And a lot of that just boils down to preparation.
Yep. So
and
can you airbrush hair and for receding hairlines? Or, I mean, if you've been in the space 15 years, I mean, come on, you should have come up with a tool already to fix this.
I think that they, you know, they do. There's a lot you can do. It just depends upon at what, you know, kind of how much you want to mess with that kind of stuff. But here's the other point. Usually the things that we are nervous about on video are the things that endear us to the audience, because there's this human concept called reciprocity. And it's one of the things that separates us from bears and, you know, sharks and things that might eat us, is that when somebody does something nice for us, you know, we generally want to reciprocate. It's like a response
Sure.
that we have. It's part of our pack animal nature. And so when we're on video, and maybe, you know, we don't look like camera ready perfection, but we're trying to make we're being authentic, and we are trying to provide value. People appreciate that, and they really do. And so you start to get good feedback, and then you start to feel like, oh, I can do more of this. And it's kind of like riding a bike. You know, you start to go a little faster, and then you like over the handlebars, and
right.
And then you sort of forget maybe how you look weird riding a bike. You just go, I'm riding this bike and I'm awesome.
So tell me though, so the old adage that says, you know, one negative comment can kind of overshadow 10 positives. So, I mean, we've all seen comments on YouTube going, oh, you're such a loser. Why are you doing this? I mean, you should turn the camera off now and go back to print me. You have a face for radio, you know, all these little, you know, little quips out there. Though, how do you help people overcome that as well?
Yes, well, that is actually, and I try to help people really cement this in. When you start to get negative comments, you should celebrate, because what that means is you're getting more reach. And I had this unscientific sort of number in my head, like if you're starting to reach like 2,000, 2,500 people with some of your videos, and you're going to start to attract trolls. And it's like being in a comedy club, or you know, or any kind of being in a venue that's wider than just your inner circle of fans, right? You're going to start to attract people who are unhappy in their life, and this is how they try to make themselves feel better, or maybe they're just not quite all there. And so ignore it. I mean, look at it as a sign that you're making a difference, you're differentiating yourself, because that's the other thing, in general, not just with video, to get attention online, you have to differentiate yourself, right?
Right.
So not everybody's going to like what you have to say.
Sure.
You know, it's a free country, world, in a lot of places.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, you just have to sort of refocus on all the positive comments, and and flip that, what you were saying, you know, one negative can,
right.
You have to flip that around and go, oh no, I'm not going to let that happen. I have 100 positive comments, one negative, and I'm going to focus on the other one.
Sure.
Last tip, if you have a controversial subject or something, and you do tend to attract a lot of that, you can hire a VA or have a VA review your comments for you, and then you can do them.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's well thought out, and just the whole idea. I mean, I think I saw a quote on Facebook the other day that talked about, you know, the only people that criticize you are the people who have not done what you've done or who are behind you. So I mean, I really like that. He said the people that are doing this better than you or ahead of you are not your critics. So
Such a great quote, especially for your audience, which I'm guessing has a lot of startups.
sure.
That is so right. There's actually a total quick story. There's a crab out there that if you put a bunch of these crabs in a pot,
Hmm.
they can't, even if one could crawl out, the others won't let it, and they'll actually kill it to keep it in there with them. So you have to sort of think about it that way. Yeah, I mean, if you're starting a startup, you are not going to make a lot of people around you happy because some of them might be wishing they would do the same thing. It doesn't mean they're
Right.
bad people
Right.
or they don't love you. It's just you have to be really convicted in what you're doing. And so I love that you just brought that up. The very last piece about worrying about negative comments, and I got this from a coach that I interview some coaches that are some business coaches that are using video really well. Her name is Patty Lennon, and she said you have to put your own ego, you have to put the needs and the way that you can serve your audience best ahead of your ego.
Mhm.
And I can actually speak to that from experience because you know what a video producer does? We stand behind the camera and we boss people around. And I really liked that. I was for a long time, I was like, oh, no, this happens and that happens. Well, then I'm like, dang, if I'm going to start to be telling, people they need to get out in front of camera, I got to do the same thing. So
Yeah.
that I totally,
Yeah.
can relate to not, I'm an introvert as well. And I can totally relate to not jumping out of bed and going, oh, I'm going to be on camera today.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there are those rare unicorns out there that love being on camera, but for the most, most of us, we kind of shy away from that, and we much prefer just and not even the sound of our voice. We prefer to type something, or, the whole kind of avoidance.
But again, flip that around. This is such an incredible opportunity,
Oh, I agree. I
uh,
agree.
and you're, sorry, pat yourself on the back. You're doing it. You're on camera right now, and you're such a great example. And that is another thing that really drives me is I've watched this space evolve for the last 20 years ish. And I was at South by Southwest Interactive. The first one, I had a streaming video account. I was trying to resell that to, I mean, a lot of your audience won't even know what that is because that was back, before streaming video was free online. But I just watched the space evolve, and also what's happening in the world of entrepreneurship a lot because of the internet. And it's an incredible opportunity. So I really hope that people will scope out and get a bigger perspective around it, because I personally think everybody should have a YouTube channel.
Well, and I think, part of what you said made me think that it's one of those. It's kind of like jumping into the tech space in the first place. I mean, it's kind of the internet age, and if you're an internet grandmother, I'm an internet great grandfather because I predate anything closely, related to tech. But just the whole idea that we're moving that way. It's just moving that way, and so you can either be in the game or you can stand on the sidelines and watch the parade go by and go, man, I wish I would have followed the path. And that kind of, I want to touch on that just for a second. That why is there such a rise, over the last couple of years of video? Why the sudden? I mean, we've had YouTube for a number of years. We've had, smartphones for a number of years. People have, been able to, post video on blogs and things like that. And I mean, Facebook seems a little late in the game with their Facebook Live. But so how do you account for this sudden increase? Knowing this is a really high fear in most people's worlds.
Right. Well, that's a great question. And actually, the video on my YouTube channel has a tidal wave, a clip of a tidal wave, and that's why I say, "Are you going to ride the tidal wave, or are you going to like get drowned?" Because that is exactly what's happening. And depending upon your industry and your space, there's a real opportunity right now to get a front runner advantage and get on some video if you're not doing it, and if other people in your space are not doing it. Like for example, I work with a lot of coaches, and a lot of coaches are lagging still on doing
Sure.
it. And the ones that are getting on it are just like, why didn't I start 2 years ago? So the reason that I believe that you're seeing this exponential growth is because it became possible. It just got easier and easier and easier to do it. And so I used to shoot with a big old camera, and
Yep.
then I shot with a smaller camera, and then I shot with a smaller camera, and now I use my smartphone. And
Right.
I coach all of my clients to use their smartphone. And even some of, with some of my videos, I'm bypassing that, and I'm using my Chromebook.
Mm.
So it's
Yep.
just gotten so much easier to produce video.
Right.
It's like you almost can't not do it, or there's no more excuse left.
Right.
And
And I mean, with the free editing tools online, and I mean, they make it very easy, to
yeah,
adopt this new technology, and I think that's helping.
it is. And also the, YouTube, I went to VidCon 3 or 4 years ago with my daughter was doing video stuff in school, and it was longer than that. Gosh, time flies. Probably 6 or 7 years ago. Anyway, VidCon was a meeting in LA around for YouTubers, and it was the most interesting, fun thing I'd been to. Is the only conference I've ever gone to where the average age was probably 13, literally, and all of the adults in the room were kind of gathering around, trying to like pick at the brains of these kids, like how do we do, like trying to figure out how they were doing it, and wanting to become relevant to that generation, because I don't remember the exact statistics, bad me, but the number of 14-year-olds in the United States that have a YouTube account is, like some huge amount, and the amount of time they spend on YouTube. So YouTube, younger generation, was really driving a lot of this video adoption. And
Right.
then Facebook, when Facebook turned on Facebook Live, and how many of us were already on Facebook, that then really has, I probably exponentially increased the amount of video, online today. So those are some of the reasons. It's just the technology got easier, people's internet connections got better,
Right.
and the big boys online, the big companies won it. So
Yeah. My son graduated from university a couple of years ago, and he had a couple of classmates that did a very simple video called "How Animals Eat Their Young." I'm sorry, how animals eat their food, not eat their young. Yeah, that's a completely different story. But how animals eat their food, and it literally is just two guys sitting at this with a cardboard box with a tablecloth over it, and one of them's eating like a human, and the other one is eating like these various animals. Well, this video just exploded, and I think if you look at it today on YouTube, it's got like 300 million views or something like that. These kids paid their tuition. It's a private school. They paid their tuition. They were just, I mean, the ad revenue on that video alone just was incredible. And that's what they do now. They just make these silly videos. And that's, I mean, literally is just, living on the wave of that first video. And it is amazing the reach and the impact and the virality of that video, just how simple that was. And they filmed it like in an afternoon.
right.
I mean, it was truly amazing. And I made me think of that. I'll watch that video again like last week, just because I had some time to surf the net and just waste a little time there. But
Right.
um,
Yeah.
so
Sure.
what other tips do you think would really, I mean, if somebody's thinking about, okay, I want to kind of start with, adding video, incorporating video, what's a couple of just first steps that are real easy, low barrier of entry, things to do that they can, like, let's say they're just getting started on and some online business. Maybe it's e-commerce, maybe it's some kind of gig economy stuff, side hustle, whatever. But how do you kind of leverage that? And what's the best way to start? Is it brand awareness? Is it product focus? Is it I want to tell you about me? I mean, what's the easy entry?
Yeah, well, that's a great question too, and it does sort of depend on the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
But most businesses have some sort of marketing plan in place, and so you want to look at your priorities there and start to see, how can I videofy that? So if your priority is brand awareness, how can you videofy that? You you obviously need some explainer videos on your site about, not necessarily explainer, but you need a branding video that's what you do, why you do it, what makes you different. Basically, you want
Right.
that. You're going to want some. My most favorite video of all, that you don't even have to shoot, is a testimonial.
Yeah.
So as soon as you get rolling with some customers, you want to get video testimonials, and those you don't even have to shoot. Then If you are in product sales, you want to definitely do product videos, just
Hmm.
short, simple. And that's the other key. Keep it simple.
Right.
Uh, and I can, if you want me to get into it right now or in a couple of minutes, I was going to talk to you about a really simple setup for
Yeah,
video.
we can touch on that in just a second. I want to follow up one thing. So, I've interviewed a number of different people. They've been in a number of different spaces over the last year and for 2 months, the year and 3 months or so. And everybody that has a focus believes that their thing is the kind of the silver bullet or the panacea or the thing that can cure all ills. I mean, I'm getting the sense as I'm talking to you that yours really does. That video really is, I mean, it's like separating itself from virtually all the other approaches from a marketing standpoint, from a branding standpoint, from an awareness standpoint. And I mean, you're selling me on video, but I mean, are you being fair that, considering other things? I mean, it seems like to me that this is almost a no-brainer.
Yes. And once again, depending upon your business model, and I think though, what I love about your question is, I think it's super intelligent and it's thinking ahead because it's something I've been thinking about too. I believe we're moving to a time when, because I'll have people come to me and they'll go, well, I want to get this going. I want to get my blog going and I want to get this going and then I'll do some video. And I think the smarter approach, especially for limited resources and the fact that it's so easy to get going on video these days, is start with video. I mean, blogging is important for your SEO, of course,
Sure.
but it's very easy to do a little video post about a blog.
Hmm.
Um, so, Instagram, which started out as it still is like the image engine in a
Right.
way,
Exactly.
but, IGTV is blowing up. It's
Yep.
huge. And so if you start with video on Instagram, I guess that's what I'm getting at. You're going to spend a little bit of money and some time in setup,
Hmm.
more than you will just blogging, of course. But that's why everybody in the world is blogging, because it's inexpensive and
Right.
you have to show up to it in the same way as you do, for video.
Right.
So I think that we're coming to the time when, and this is kind of how I've oriented my business, is I'm video first, and then I do, I'll have a blog post in mind, but there's always a video piece that goes with that.
Right.
I'm starting to live stream every day, but I have things to say. I mean, there's a strategy behind it.
Hmm. Yep.
That's why people get kind of nervous about live streams, is if you don't have a strategy behind why you're online, if you're just kind of online, people can tell that, and it doesn't really work very well.
Well, I think that's a great segue into kind of the final segment of our chat today that we'd like to call the Rising Tide Micro Course. So we want to build a library of these mini segments during the interview that are really kind of uber focused on salient and points and really value to our listeners that listen to the entire episode. And so touch on like the steps of getting set up. I mean, you frame it however you want to frame it. This is your time, but just really kind of speak to our listeners about, that they're thinking, hey, man, I'm buying what she's selling. So how do we get started in this? So.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for that. So what I find that I learn best when I'm learning while doing, and I find that most people do, all the way from little kids and puppies up to adults. So we learn by doing, right? And given that, and also that part of the stress around video sometimes can be confusion or overwhelm around the gear.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing that I try to help people with is simplifying, like a super simple setup for video. And some pieces of this will apply whether you're doing live streaming or whether you're doing interviews online with your computer camera or whether you're shooting with your smartphone. So there's only like 4 things that you need. First of all, if you're going to use a camera, use your smartphone, and you need something that will hold it stable. Basically for your tripod, you need either a tabletop tripod, or if you're going to film standing up, which is a great idea for some people, energy reasons, you just need a tripod to hold your phone. Then I recommend this mic here. I'm not sponsored by Rode. I wish, but I'm not. but you can see this mic has been everywhere with me. I travel a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
Rode products, I just really like them. They are a great combination of professional but affordable. So you
Okay.
can definitely spend more on a mic, but this is a great one to start with because it just clips right to your shirt
Mm-hmm.
and plugs right into the headphone jack. Now, some people don't have a headphone jack anymore because Apple and their infinite wisdom did away with it, I think in the iPhone 7. So, but you do have, there's a little adapter,
That
right?
little dongle, absolutely,
The
yeah.
dongle. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that used to come with it. And now I think the iPhone, is it, the last one didn't even ship with the dongle. So
Mm-hmm.
at any rate, you'll need a dongle. Now, the challenge with that is you can't charge your phone at the same time you're using the dongle because you're using that port, right?
Sure.
So there are dongles that have two little things.
Exactly.
And I don't have one of those. By the way, I should have said this earlier. Hope nobody's taking notes seriously. I have this for all you guys, access to this whole list, an easy way to order it if this works for people.
Okay.
So don't worry about trying to write it all down. And then I just did a whole video training around it, so we'll talk about that in a minute too. But at any rate, the double-sided dongle, I saw some kind of iffy reviews, I guess is what I'm getting at. So
Mm-hmm.
they're not expensive, you could give it a try,
Right.
but I haven't endorsed one yet. And then the last thing that you need is a light source.
Okay.
So I use natural light when I can. And if I can't, like right now, my room that gets a little bit dim, so I have one of these big box lights. There are, you guys may know what that is. It looks like a black box on a light stand with and the light from it's really soft because there is a kind of an opaque or translucent piece of fabric on it.
Right.
So those are really inexpensive on Amazon. They're not as cool as the Diva light, but the Diva light is the round light that gives like amazing light, but you better know what you're doing with makeup like a diva with those.
Yeah.
Also, they're not very forgiving in terms of moving them around. My box lights move around for me. Like, I mean,
Right.
all my box lights all over Mexico. I love them. And the last thing with the Diva is you can't wear glasses with it. I haven't figured out a way to do that.
Oh, because of the white, it would be white circles on the lenses.
It's alien. You look like an alien.
Okay. Well,
Right.
I don't have a light ring. I may look like an alien anyway, so it may be an improvement.
No. But my point with all of that is, and this is something else I think that we're getting to and that I'm trying to introduce to people, now that like we've been in this big tidal wave of video, everybody's getting online going, I got to be doing video. Well, now let's all step back and take a breath and align how we look with our brand. So
that's
there's
good.
no reason, we don't have to look, like the morning show on TV camera ready, but we don't have to look like we're in a cave. And I just did a post on LinkedIn about the cure for cave person video, because I mean, I admire anybody who's doing video, taking that on, but it's time to step back and buy a box light. So you can look a little bit, because you want to represent yourself like your brand. I mean, I'm sure everybody spent some money on their logo and their website.
Sure.
When you get ready to go to a networking meeting, do you walk in there, looking like you've got that, no, you walk in there kind of ready for action, correct?
Yeah.
That's what a little bit more of a home mini studio or office mini studio will do for you, is just have your light there, have your mic ready to go. And if you can't leave your stuff up, you can put tape on the floor where your light goes when you want to like grab it and start doing a video.
Right. So you can be kind of consistent in your delivery from video to video. Yeah, that's good.
Exactly. And you're in the same place that I saw that you were on your others on YouTube. And so you've realized that
I'm in my cave.
Yeah. If you had to set that up every single time, how much less efficient would that be?
Sure.
And you'd be tempted to not do it at all. And that's what I find too. Okay. Last tip is, when possible, batch your videos. So, and that's less for live streams perhaps than marketing videos, or if you're doing a YouTube channel that you're going to be creating videos for, you want to figure out a way to batch those, at least most of them, because it is so much more efficient to do, believe it or not, 4 or 5 videos at one time than it is just to do one. And a lot of people are like, I just want to get one done. And then I'm like, no, we're going to do at least 3, and you're going to see how much more efficient it is. Plus, it saves you money in the edit.
Yeah, yeah,
So
and there's a flow. I mean, it takes a little while to get into the flow, the thought process, and once you're in it, you want to kind of make hay while the sun is shining type thing, and this idea of how can I be consistent and have a consistent thought pattern that's going through, because these are not necessarily independent thoughts. I mean, they may tend to build on each other. So let me ask you a really quick question about point number one. You said use your smartphone. Why do you recommend doing that? Is it just because of ease of entry, or is it because the camera has gotten so good that it's going to be as good as any other, like a DLR camera or DSLR, whatever, the digital reflex cameras or whatever? So why specifically just use your cell phone?
well, number one, most people have one now.
Right.
Not everybody has a camera.
Yeah.
And the new iPhone, I'm not sure about the older ones, it shoots 4K.
Yeah.
So if you're worried about, which by the way gets compressed way, way down to
Sure.
see on the internet. So I'm not really sure why we need that, but unless we're doing BMW commercials, but at any rate, or unless you're producing stuff that's going to be seen on the big screen, maybe at any rate, the iPhone camera and some of the other Android models can do, very, very, very acceptable video, especially
Hmm.
for this kind of video, or a health coach that's shooting themselves doing video fitness
Right.
stuff.
Right.
So you just don't need the extra step of downloading footage, and sometimes, and that footage is going to be usually bigger. It could be like, and some of them have proprietary formats like Sony used to. I don't know if they do anymore. Then the last thing is, with the camera, you just have so many more settings to figure out
Hmm.
how to deal with, that it's just another, kind of laborious step in
Sure.
between.
Just
And
overcomplicate things.
it just overcomplicates
Yeah.
thing. And my motto is keep it simple. And my second one is we can always get fancier later.
Yeah.
There's a Facebook guru, Marie.
Fortio.
No, she's the YouTube lady. No,
Oh.
this is Marie Smith. She's a
Oh,
Facebook,
yeah. Yeah.
and she has a beautiful live stream look, that is something that, a video producer, a coach can totally help you achieve. But
Hmm.
you don't have to start there
Right.
to start video.
Right.
You start, with this setup, which, isn't like amazing, but it's better than the cave person look.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me ask one other question, and then we'll just ask you where people can find you online. But um, how do you, or what is the easiest or quickest way for somebody, once they shoot these videos, where do they go for editing? What editing software is free out there, or easy access, or just real quick touch on how to get it to this post production stage.
Yeah, another good question. And so I don't give tons and tons of recommendations about editing software because I'm a little contrarian with that. I used to be an editor. I am a very good video editor. So I know how long it takes. It takes a long time. And even if you know what you're doing, what I prefer to encourage people to do is set up their shoot and their scripts and their shoot in such a way that makes the footage really easy to edit.
Mm.
And I don't really have time to get into that here, but that I have a whole piece on that in my method. And that's the video producer thinking part. Like, I know from the time you're writing your script what the editor is going to be doing with your footage.
Right.
So I know
Right.
how to do that. So, but you basically just want to keep it really simple, and you want to
Yep.
practice and keep your, long rambling footage. Don't just give all that to an editor and expect them to be able to deal with it efficient. Well, they can deal with it, but it's going to cost you more money.
Right.
There's a long way of saying, sorry, that I like for people to be really efficient in the way that they create their videos so they don't have to edit them. Because when you're organized, an editor on Upwork, I've used a bunch of them. They're great. They're very capable, and they're not that expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Versus your time learning how to edit, waiting for it to upload. Because if you're, there are some good online editors right now, but it takes forever depending on your internet connection.
Right.
There's just some simple things that some still don't do. And so I would say, if you do, if you have to edit your own stuff, there's like just chopping off the front and the back. iMovie is easy.
Yeah.
And I think there's another Wistia. Is that? I shouldn't even say because Camtasia. I think that's the one I'm thinking of.
Okay.
But in general, I don't edit. anymore. And I have an advantage because I know how to communicate with an editor, but that's something I teach my clients as well. But I
Right.
would just say be really efficient and focused in how you create your footage, and then get an editor.
Sure. Well, you also, I can tell just through sheer experience, you're very good on camera as well. So you have a very good presence on camera. So yeah, I can. There's not a lot of ums and ahs in your presentation there as well. So yeah, I think you've already got this part nailed.
Well, I
So
appreciate that, but I got to tell you, really, what I try to keep in mind is I'm not here. I mean, I'm here for you and your audience, and I mean that sincerely and not in a gushy, weird way. It just, I want this to become easier for people. It doesn't have to be as hard as it's been, because I know what it can do for your business, and I know if you're doing a startup, your business is your baby.
right, exactly.
It's not just something you're just waking up to go do. It is important to you and your family and your community. And it's important to the world because, we're passionate about this work. And that's the best kind of energy you can have around business.
Well, Kayla, I am very grateful for you taking the time today and sharing your wisdom with our audience and taking time out of your valuable schedule. And so tell us where we can find you online as we wrap up today.
Well, I have one of the world's longest URLs. It's but I want you to type it out at least once. mirroryourbrillianceonvideo.com, because that's what you got to do, right? And for your listeners, we will be providing a separate link for, I guess we're going to talk, or you can put information about what they can access around that. It's a workshop that I'm going to, usually is a paid workshop, but I'm going to open it up for you guys for free. And it's more detail around what we just talked about, like your super simple setup. And then I also go into how to set up the light and where to set up in your space. So I kind of take you a virtual location scout.
Sure.
So long way of saying there'll be a link for that for your listeners especially. But the website itself is mirroryourbrilliance.com, and my email is kayla@mirroryourbrilliance.com.
Well, Kayla, thank you. And I want to encourage our listeners, do not dally on getting to that link. It's only live for a short period of time. And she's offering this paid webinar out for a free basis just for our listeners. So we're very grateful for you doing that. And once again, providing value and just taking time out of your day-to-day just to play your part in helping all boats rise in a rising tide. Kayla, thanks again.
Thank you so much. Thanks.